Hey, what's up guys? Rob of Rule of Two Review here, and it is finally time to discuss E3 2015 as a whole. The show wrapped earlier this week, of course, as we all know. It was a pretty big deal. E3 is always an exciting time. There was a lot to talk about this year. A lot of controversy, a lot of great games, a lot of surprises, some things that let us down, of course, as we all know, and it's just been a crazy ride this whole year, and throughout the, now 5 days apparently, that's been E3. We know that it kicked off on Sunday, June 14th, which to my knowledge is the first time it had ever been that early on a Sunday. It always starts with Monday with a couple of press conferences, Tuesday a couple more press conferences, and then the 3 days of the show floor going through Thursday. This year, Nintendo and Bethesda both did some things on Sunday, which was really exciting because, hey, an extra day of E3, who's going to complain? It was a lot of fun. I took the week off of work. I had a great time. Even with some of my heartbreaking disappointment, I still had a really good time. There was a lot to watch and be excited about. I made quite a few videos. I got to review Microsoft, Nintendo, Ubisoft, and EA. I didn't get a chance to make a specific video grading Sony or Bethesda, and I really, really wanted to. I actually had a lot to say about both of them because they were two of my favorite conferences, and I just was too busy, and now I've been back at work, and so it's just been hard. You know, it is what it is. That being said, overall, it was a great E3. One of the best in recent memory. I don't know if I could say one of the best of all time, but it's up there. It's definitely, I thought, was a really good E3. Again, despite some of the disappointments, which you've kind of heard me talk about. So what I want to do is really quickly discuss my thoughts on Sony, and I'll give them, I guess, kind of a grade. And then I'll just sort of discuss some more factors on E3 as a whole. The long and the short of Sony is that I thought that they won E3 handily. It was no questions asked, no holds barred. Sony came to win this year for the first time in a long time. I mean, yes, they came out swinging with the E3 prior to the PlayStation 3, but that was because they were trying to specifically take a dig at Microsoft, and they were waiting backstage to adjust their information for the PlayStation 4 info reveal based on what Microsoft did so that they could get a leg up. And as great as that was and as fun as it was to watch, it still wasn't like the best, and they didn't really have a lot of games. They just had a couple great moments where they announced the price cheaper than the Xboxes, and they announced that the PlayStation allowed you to share games, and that's kind of how they won that E3. As a whole, the press conference was really just okay. It was good, but it wasn't great. This year, it was great, you know, and I know maybe not everyone agrees. A lot of awesome people who I like to follow on YouTube and great websites that I follow don't agree, but a lot of them do at the same time. The reason that I think Sony won E3 this year with their press conference really didn't have to do with my taste in the games that they showed, because I don't really think that that's the best way to grade an E3. You can say whether or not an E3 press conference was good for you, and the Sony press conference was pretty good for me. But as far as the industry, as far as gaming as a hobby, and as far as all gamers, which are millions upon billions worldwide, it was amazing. That's what makes an E3 press conference. The fact that they opened with The Last Guardian, which I swore up and down, even on a video a week prior to E3, was never going to show again. They opened with that game. Holy freaking cow. Wow, wonderful job. Way to go, Sony. You did an amazing thing, and it turned out that that game existed, and I am so shocked and pleasantly happy. I mean, I wanted that game to exist. I was never trying to diss that game for the sake of saying, screw it, I don't care about it, it's going to be dumb. No, that game will be awesome. And it needed to exist, and that's why I'm glad that it still does. So opening with that was just an amazing surprise. They opened with not only a huge game, but a surprise. And what have I said about E3? Surprises make the show. That's what people have to consider. It's not just about what do you like individually, because you're one of a billion gamers. No one press conference is going to be perfectly tailor-made for any one individual. But it's a matter of what they do on the whole and on the grand scheme of gaming as a hobby. So you have surprises that get people excited, makes people hoot and holler in the conference. It makes you jump off of your couch screaming and cheering and clapping, and that is presentation. And a gigantic portion, not all, but a gigantic portion of E3, your press conference, and if you want to question whether or not somebody wins or doesn't win, a gigantic portion is that presentation. It is key. It is why Nintendo, one of the many reasons Nintendo didn't do well this year. Huge part was the game. The other part was the presentation. They didn't have it. Sony this year had it. You open with The Last Guardian after 6 years of guesses and wondering and all the hootenanny, and bam, there you go. A great thing. We know about the other two big surprises. Final Fantasy VII actual remake confirmed, Shenmue 3 showing up on stage. And yes, they did a really shitty pitch for a Kickstarter thing, and I didn't like that. But they brought Shenmue 3 back and they put it on stage. That's what you needed to do. That's the thing that had people jumping off their chairs with excitement. That's E3. That's what makes E3 good. A lot of my followers are Nintendo fans, so I want you guys who are Nintendo fans to think about the very infamous Twilight Princess reveal. That was amazing, right? That was the best moment in E3 history, right? Yes, it absolutely was the best moment in E3 history. It was also the one E3 that I attended, by the way. So when you think of that reveal, you can probably, many people will very comfortably say, that was the best moment in E3 history. That surprise and that reveal and the way the energy built up when that was revealed, that's why it's the best moment in E3 history. Well, you know what? Not everyone is a Zelda fan, and not everyone maybe thought that was the best reveal in the world, but most of us know that it was. And it's not because Zelda fans had to love it or Nintendo fans had to love it, but because of what it meant for a press conference at E3. That is why that moment was great. And there's no reason to take that away from any other game at any other press conference. And in any other press conference, just Shenmue or just Final Fantasy or just The Last Guardian, given that game's history, would have been enough to equal that press conference's Twilight Princess. And they had all three in one press conference. I will play The Last Guardian. I don't care about the Final Fantasy VII Remake, and I don't care about Shenmue 3, you guys. I don't care about those games, but they were amazing reveals. I watched that, and I cheered. I gasped. I said, oh my God, I can't believe The Last Guardian is here. Oh my God, I can't believe Final Fantasy VII. Oh my God, I can't believe Shenmue 3. Boom, bang, boom. That is E3. It got me excited about games I don't even care about. And it's because I know what they mean. They resonate hugely within the gaming industry. And I won't beat this dead horse anymore other than to finalize that statement saying those surprises, those wow moments, those shock and awe feelings, that defines an amazing kick-ass E3 press conference. It's not about whether you like Shenmue or The Last Guardian, but it's about what it means for Sony to have those reveals on stage. And it's nuclear. It's huge. Those were amazing, those three surprises. They also had a couple of new IPs. Yes, they demoed No Man's Sky again, and some people are getting sick of that, and I totally understand why. I'm still excited for that game, and I loved what they showed. Again, if that game really comes out this year, everything is okay. If it does make it to another E3, then yeah, there's a lot to be concerned about there. But I think that it will release well before next E3. I'm hoping so. You know, they had Horizon, which was great. They didn't talk a whole lot of business, which was awesome. They kind of did show the Vita, which was very surprising. And they ended with, you know, can't even remember now the other things. And they ended with a great Uncharted demo. Maybe not the best Uncharted demo we've ever seen at E3, but a good one, for sure. It was a good one where, you know, someone was driving that thing. Some people I don't think understood that wasn't like what Tomb Raider was, where that wasn't pre-scripted cutscenes. Like, that is a scene that you will drive that Jeep the entire way. And it was exciting enough. You know, I think that they probably could have shown... I will always remember their Last of Us finale for E3, which would have been, I guess, 2013 probably, or maybe 2012. That was amazing. That's how that game was supposed to be demoed. And I feel like they're missing an opportunity to have that kind of quality demo with Uncharted 4. But it probably doesn't matter because I'm sure we're going to see that game before next E3, so I don't think it'll be there next year. But it was, again, in short, still a good demo. I thought that it was a fine demo as far as Uncharted goes, and I know that game will be amazing. So, despite the fact that I am 99% sure the little hiccup in the beginning was staged and planted, I think that whole thing was pre-recorded. It doesn't really matter because that game will still be what it looks like. I don't think they were lying about what that game looks like or plays like. They just wanted a demo that wouldn't get messed up because of all the chaos it would require to drive down that terrain. So I think that they pre-recorded the whole thing so that it was a perfect run with mistakes that were very purposely put in there to make it seem like it was a struggle. And they just had someone sitting on stage with a controller. A lot of press conferences have been doing that for years. A lot of them did that this year. I think Uncharted did the same thing. And that hiccup, I think, was very purposeful to make it, to remind people, this is actually in-game. This is how the game will look as you're controlling it. None of this is pre-scripted. It was pre-recorded, but I don't think it was pre-scripted. It was an accurate representation of what that game will look and play like. They just wanted an example of somebody not messing up. Because if someone would have messed up and died and have to restart, that's not an exciting press conference. And I think that's why they did that. So I'm not dissing the game, but I did see through your tricks, Sony. That was not real live gameplay. That was not live gameplay. So anyway, that's basically the long and short of it, 10 minutes in, on why I thought Sony was fantastic this year. It's probably in the top tier of press conferences I've ever seen. I would probably say top 5. I mean, you drop bombs. It doesn't matter if the bombs mean the same thing for everybody. It's what they mean for the industry. They had 3 gargantuan bombs and a bunch of other good content. You can't argue with that. You had people screaming and cheering several times throughout. The energy never stopped from the beginning, from the very get-go all the way to the end, man. They showed a couple weird things, but that's fine. It was great. So I'm going to go ahead and grade Sony's press conference, and I give it an A-. It was the best press conference this year. It was the best press conference in a very long time from any company, and that's a big deal, you know. And again, there's only so many games there that I'm going to play that they actually showed, at least, you know, but it just doesn't matter, you know. It was an exciting press conference to watch, and that's what makes E3. To me, that's how you should grade E3. You can say my grade to E3 is encompassing how it affects all gamers. My personal feeling is that I'm only excited about this and that, or maybe it wasn't exciting for me. And I get that. Like, it's very much makes sense. But I feel like it's not fair to say, well, I don't like Final Fantasy and I don't like Horizon or Uncharted, so it was a bad press conference. You don't get to say it was bad because you didn't like those games. You get to say, I don't like the games they showed, but they had a great press conference. To me, that's my approach and my formula for grading E3. That's how I look at it every year for every company, even my favorite, Nintendo. So speaking about Nintendo, I'll really quickly summarize Nintendo's digital event. As we all know, it was a huge letdown. It was very hard to watch, very disappointing. Other than having my favorite E3 moment, which was the beginning with the Muppets, leading into the reveal of Star Fox, one of my favorite games from the show, it was just such a train wreck after that. And as has been discussed by many people, it's obvious that they're slowly moving away from the Wii U way sooner than they should be, and it's quite disappointing. I have thought about it since then. I made a great wrap-up video summarizing my thoughts a day later, where I talked about how I think there's still a lot to be excited for with Nintendo, and the company is probably still going to be fine, and we should just be excited for the amazing games we still will have to play before this year is over, as well as what they will be doing with their next console, because I think that they will have learned a lot of mistakes from the Wii U, and build the right kind of console next time, which we know is coming soon. We know the NX is real, and it's going to be revealed next year. So we'll see what happens there. And, you know, the more I've thought about how I know that they probably very purposefully were reminding people about transition as a theme. I think that they were trying to, you know, subconsciously supplant in our brains, basically Inception style, trying to say, hey, we're transitioning, so we know this isn't going to be great. I think that they knew it. At first, I was like, man, did they really just not understand how that wasn't going to be good with all of those 3DS games and casual games and cutesy games and nothing good except for Star Fox? And then I was like, you know, I think that they absolutely knew it, and they knew that they were going to have to bear the brunt of a very bad E3 showing, you know, which every company has gone through, you know, Nintendo included, so I think that they had to just be prepared for the backlash. And they tried to say, Reggie was trying to say, it's transitional. We here at Nintendo believe in transitions, and what does it mean to do a transition and to be transitional, blah, blah, blah. They were trying to say, hey, this is going to suck, so prepare for it, but don't worry, because it's leading to better things down the road. I genuinely believe that. So as much as I will absolutely say they had a garbage press conference this year, and they left way too many good games that they actually had at the show out of their digital event, still, it's Nintendo. They're smart. They're the best in the biz. They've been doing it longer than anyone. They're going to be okay. Nintendo fans we have to just bite the bullet this year, and I think it's all going to be okay come next year. I really think that. So that's my feeling there. As far as their digital event, though, as far as the here and the now and the this year, bad, bad, bad. That was a D+. That was not a good showing. Star Fox is what saves it from an F for me. And that was my third favorite game of show. I actually made my list, you know, where I talked about my 5 favorite games. Star Fox made that list, but everything else was so bad. So D+ for Nintendo. So hard to rate my favorite company that bad. But hey, we've lived through Wii Music, and we've lived through the Wii U reveal, which was awkward. We've lived through was it Cammy Dunaway, the snowboarding thing, which is where My Body Is Ready came from. We've all lived through that stuff, man. You know, it happens. What are you going to do? Everyone has those moments, you know. So that was Nintendo, D+. Microsoft, of course, I reviewed Nintendo and I reviewed Microsoft, but I didn't give them grades. Microsoft had a really good showing. It was better than last year, and last year itself was very good. They just came out with a bunch of games, a bunch of surprises. They had Rare on stage. They showed us Tomb Raider, and although, like I said, I didn't love what they decided to show of Tomb Raider, it still looks good, and I know that game's going to be great. So they did Tomb Raider. What else did they do? I said they brought Rare back, and they showed the Rare 30, and they showed the new Rare game. They didn't show Assassin's Creed, thank God. I would have been so bored if they did that. They showed Halo. Huge misstep not having Master Chief. That really pisses me off. But still, what they showed was very good. They talked about the Gears of War remaster, and of course, they closed with Gears of War 4, which is so exciting. They showed a lot of great things. Microsoft just came out and they just said, game. Mostly good games. Not a whole lot of surprises, but just quality content on stuff that we hadn't really seen before. We knew Halo 5 was coming, we knew Gears was coming, but actually seeing it in action was the exciting thing. So they did great things there, and they were, proud of their Tomb Raider exclusivity, as they should be, so I love that they spent some time with that. It was a great show. So Microsoft, to me, gets a very strong B+. B+, not a B. That plus is important, because it really was that good that it almost could have been considered an A. So those are the three main players, Nintendo, unfortunately, with a D+, Microsoft with a very healthy B+, and Sony just coming out guns blazing, bazookas firing with an A-. So, on the whole, what I liked about E3 is it's interesting. There was a trend that I felt like I saw this year in a really weird way, and it was a level of honesty. I felt like there was a lot of truthfulness coming from everyone this year. Even Nintendo. I feel like what Nintendo didn't do was bullshit their way through it and lie about things. I think that, like I said, because I feel like they knew they had a bad press conference, they just had to grin and bear it and make the best with what they had. And they said we didn't want to show a game like Zelda, for example, or if we're secretly working on Metroid or whatever that we knew was going to be not ready or was coming out too far down the road or might come out on the next system. We're not going to lie just to drum up false hype. And that's why I think that was very truthful and honest. And, the way Todd Howard came out and presented Fallout 4, very truthful and honest. The way everybody did everything. It's really hard to put into words and to give examples other than that. It just felt really real. The way they had very different personalities for a lot of the press conferences coming on stage and talking about things. The Pele moment actually was cool at EA's, even though it was a sports-related thing. They just came out and talked to somebody genuinely about their life and why it was important to the games that they're making. And I don't know. It was something that I just randomly picked up on watching the show this year. And I liked it. The Nintendo World Championships, another prime example of just bringing gamers to E3, man. And that was a lot of fun. Yes, it ended up being a commercial for Super Mario Maker, but it was great because that game looks amazing. And it was still fun. I think the genuine funness of that happening was very real. And, the gamers got to meet Reggie, and Miyamoto came on stage and gave them signed 3DSs and stuff. It was very much like a we care about you thing, And I got that from almost everybody. And just the show in general felt that way. And the way everyone was presenting their games on the live streams, the behind-the-scenes looks, even Nintendo's Treehouse, it just felt right this year. And so I appreciate the industry doing something, giving a feeling that I haven't felt in a long time, where they really were reminding everybody, we just love making games. I felt like everybody had that feeling. Bethesda especially, we care about making games, so we care about the gamer. Yes, there's shitty business practices, we all know that, and I'm not going to deny that those exist. But it just felt mitigated enough this year to leave me with a good feeling. And considering the fact that Nintendo had such a crappy performance, and that hurts so much to admit, the fact that I can still walk away with these good feelings, I think is a testament to how good I really found this year's E3 to be. I do think there's a weird trend with the fake stage demos, and that's been going on for a long time. This year it felt more than normal, which is kind of a strange thing, and yes, that's a lie. But that's one that I don't know. I'm not letting that deter me from still feeling good about all the other things. The personalities felt real. That's what I'm getting at. The personalities felt real. I also did not like Ubisoft's press conference at all. The South Park surprise was great, but other than that, I had nothing to be interested in there. They showed they had like 6 games on stage total, and it was all the same stuff minus Just Dance. It was all just the same cookie cutter stuff. So I'm very disappointed by Ubisoft, who, as much as they piss me off, I do think they make great games, and so I'm disappointed with some of their showings, but that's fine. EA was pretty good, not great, but they were good. They had some great surprises. Unravel was one of my favorite games of show, so I really appreciated that. There was another point I was going to bring up about that. I don't know. I've pretty much summed up my thoughts. I thought E3 was very, very good this year. I want to hear what you guys have to think. Those are my 3 grades. A-, D+, B+, all over the spectrum when it comes to the press conferences this year. But it was still exciting. Next year, I have a theory that Nintendo will be doing a press conference. I feel like they're going to go live again next year, especially if that's where they reveal the NX. I just see them doing that live and trying to really knock out the live setting again, to come back really strong and to be confident and say, we're not afraid. We're coming right to you face to face again like we've always done, to say, boom, bitches, here's our system. Love it, be excited, and hopefully a bunch of other games. Maybe they show us that the Wii U isn't really being pushed aside as soon as we think it is. Just yet, that remains to be seen. We'll have to check that out. But, I'm long in the tooth. I hit my 20-minute mark, which pretty much all my E3 wrap-up videos have done. So I'm going to wrap this up. Final thoughts. E3 was great this year. Nintendo was disappointing, but they still had some bright spots. And Sony, wow. I thought they showed how an E3 press conference is supposed to be done. No one was perfect, but no one ever is perfect. And I thought Sony did an amazing job, and considering they were the ones who really had the most to prove because their system sells great but has not very good games except for Bloodborne, it's like, man, they finally showed that they've been working hard to get some good games. So kudos to Sony, kudos to E3, kudos to us gamers, man. We won. We had a great year this year and a lot to be excited for. People had tons of games to talk about. Oh my god, Fallout 4. Oh my god, Doom 4. Star Fox Battlefront was all over the place. It was great. It was a great year. So those are my thoughts. I loved E3 this year, even though I'm sad for Nintendo. What did you guys think? Share your thoughts about E3. Share your thoughts about the conference. Do you think my grades are fair? Do you think that I'm completely batshit crazy? You don't know what the hell I'm talking about? Whatever it is, man, please feel free to talk about it below. I love that stuff. Of course, if you're new to the channel, please feel free to subscribe to Rule of 2 Review, like, share, and comment. Talk about the stuff below. And thank you for tuning in. I'll catch you guys on another video soon and at E3 next year.